Welcome to Backyard Cigars. So glad that you could join me today. Today I have J. London Ripper. And that's what I'm reading on the band. Obviously, it sounds better if you would say J. London the Ripper. But it's just Ripper on the band, and we know that this is a collaboration between J. London and Jesus Martinez of Martinez Cigars in New York City. And it is a cigar blended by Jesus Martinez and manufactured in the New York City factory. So we're going to take a closer look at this cigar and just talk a little bit about the specs and go from there. So we take a closer look here at the J. London Ripper. As we can see on the band, just Ripper red. There's a British flag up top, and of course this is calling to mind Jack the Ripper, the most infamous serial killer that has ever existed as to date, and some of the most gruesome murders ever committed. So that's the take on that. The killer, the knife, of course, being the weapon of choice. Now, on the band, interestingly enough, there are some dates, and you'll see August. I don't think you see one there, but you see August 30th, I believe, 31st. Up here you'll see appears to be November 1888, and then you've got some other dates here: December 30th, September, it looks like. I'm not exactly sure on that one, but it's Tower of London there, it appears. And so those are murder dates. I can confirm that because in school I actually had to do a report on the Whitechapel murders, as they were known. And as you can see here, blended by Jesus Martinez. It's toothy, this cigar. There's no doubt about that. And it bulges in certain sections, which is, it looks unsightly, right? But, you know, I try not to let that guide me, but I do know that certain cigars are rolled like this. And if I'm correct, this is an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper. So there you go. Again, you know, these dates that are embossed on the band are the dates of the Jack the Ripper murders, and these are the original 5, what they called the canonical 5, because there were actually 11 murders from, I believe it was April of 1888 to possibly November of 1891. And of those 11 murders, the canonical 5 were believed to be Jack the Ripper's work, or in some others' theories, his best work and his original work. And it's sad that we're calling that work, but that's what they classified it as. Because that was, he liked the end of the month dates. That's where you can see the 30, the 31, in the year 1888. And I think we've seen enough of the cigar. So what we're dealing here is an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper, an Ecuadorian Habano binder, and fillers from Nicaragua and the Dominican Republic. And those are, in my opinion, very typical types of tobacco that Martinez Cigar Company usually incorporates within their blends. It's always well done, in my opinion. I like their choice of Corojo. I like their old world flavor tobaccos because they kind of give you that feeling. They're not super aged. They're good, just aged enough. And generally just give you that old-fashioned cigar feeling. And the cigar company also finesses some of their blends to make them a little bit more premium. They've done this in recent years, but that wasn't a thing of the past. The thing of the past was really just providing affordable smokes for cigar smokers in New York City at a time when prices of just about everything, especially cigars, was going up. Martinez Cigars is one of the, you know, I would say the final four that remained in New York City, and now at this point, the last of the final four that remained in New York City at a time when crime was at an all-time high, and prices were going up. Machine-made cigars were the norm. Phillies, White Owls, Dutch Masters, other Honduran and Nicaraguan cigars, but not too many Nicaraguan cigars, more so Dominican Republic cigars. And these were the cigars that kept New York going, because if you didn't rely on a hand-rolled from Martinez Cigars, then you were basically buying your White Owls and your Phillies, or you were buying some of the other famous machine-made cigars of the time, like Te Amo or Optimo. And that was American Cigar Company's final hurrah into dominating a market like New York City. And Martinez Cigars was there at that time. In 1974, they started there, and they kept it going. And they're still there. And this cigar band art is a little interesting. I'm going to say that right now. I'm just going to come out and say it because when I studied the Jack the Ripper murders, and I believe I was in junior high school, I was studying in an advanced English class, and we were required to read certain books and do reports on them. And one of my reports was I chose a book, the Whitechapel Murders, which were later known as the Jack the Ripper murders. But collectively, like I said before, it was 11 murders, and 5 are kind of police zeroed in on a certain way of operating, certain routine in those particular 5 murders, and those are the dates that are on this band, as I showed you in the video earlier. And I just don't know how to feel about that. I can tell you that when I read the book about Jack the Ripper, and I studied, and I went to the library, and I read more on it, and I saw newspaper clippings, I was horrified. I mean, I was a kid, and I had been accustomed to violence and all sorts of shenanigans in my old neighborhood in Brooklyn, but I wasn't prepared for the description and even a few of the pictures that were provided in certain books of these murders. They were beyond horrific. It's something that you would see in a horror movie, but I think that even with the way horror movies have progressed in their grotesque nature, I don't think that you could still put this on a TV screen in any shape or form without an X rating, because it's sickening, right? It's sickening. And I know it happened a long time ago, and you know how I am. I'm a history buff, right? So 1888 for me doesn't feel like that long ago, even though it is long ago. But it's in the span of things, I don't think it's as far away as we would think it is, because gruesome murders are still occurring today, just like the Jack the Ripper murders. Maybe not to that degree of perverse insanity, but you still see a good dose of that in serial killers that are out there today and that have been caught. There's one that was caught recently from Long Island, New York City, and he disposed of them I believe in a beach. So look, that's just the history on the band and how I feel about it, picking up the cigar, and that's just me personally because of my past history with the information and with the murders. So for me, those dates represent a person and that person had a life, and maybe they weren't making much of it, but they were innocent and they didn't deserve to be killed, right? So that's just what I'm going to say about that. No, that doesn't make me not want to continue smoking the cigar or anything like that. I'm not like offended by it, but I am a little sensitive to it, I guess. It has all of the characteristics of a Martinez cigar, apart from the band. The toothy wrapper, the earthy, the cedar. The pepper, and that the way that that pepper ends up on the finish is just kind of stereotypical in a lot of Martinez cigars, and I don't say that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way because it's actually nice spice. Medium bodied so far, and it doesn't really feel like it's going to be an aggressive cigar or really a big full bodied cigar. It really feels medium, and it may get medium full, but I guess that'll be as I move further along in the cigar experience. So I think it's a decent cigar so far. The one thing I can say though is the band. So the band is going to basically have a limited time on the cigar as you're smoking it, because that dagger comes down, right? See? And pretty soon I'm going to have to remove the whole band, because if not, the dagger is going to start burning at that tip. And there's the whole thing. You do it this way, and your cigar is much more eye-catchy on the shelf for it to be sold, which is what you want. Ultimately, the sale is what you want. But then once you have a cigar smoker with a band this size and they have to remove it, then a good portion of the cigar is smoked without a band, thus limiting the exposure of the brand. But one would say the idea and the goal is to be sold first. Exposure can come in different ways, and I would say that's true. But I think just for me personally, I would have liked to have seen the same band, but in a smaller version, so that I could have had the experience of having it on the cigar for a little longer. And I know that I usually say I don't care about cigar bands as long as the cigar is good, and that it doesn't matter if I'm smoking a bare cigar without a band. But I also appreciate the art and the character that goes with the bands, and the feeling that you have when you're smoking a cigar with a certain band, right? Because if it didn't matter what color car you had, then you would just say, give me whatever. Very earthy, with a spice of cedar and a good finish of pepper. Where is this? Okay, here it is. Off you come. Off you go. Moving that band reveals more of the rustic nature of the cigar. Five and 1/4 by 50 Robusto. And again, a collaboration between J. London and Martinez Cigars. But I'm gonna say this. I would have rather seen Jesus Martinez and Martinez Cigar Company working with some of J. London's usual stock of tobaccos. I would have liked to have seen him blend that cigar with some of his usual tobaccos, and also maybe incorporate one or two of his normal tobaccos. Collaborations are funny that way because sometimes they lean one way or the other, or sometimes they're a collaboration in name only, and perhaps this is just that. And it's an opportunity for Jesus Martinez to stand out as a blender. But I will say that I don't think the cigar is for everybody. I think there are a group of people that would probably prefer a less earthy blend, or prefer a different type of feel with the filler. In regards to the filler, Nicaraguan and Dominican tobacco, I think, blends, like I've always said, beautifully, and I love the way it tastes together. But this Corojo wrapper really lends a lot of flavor to this cigar. It can't be ignored that it is a driving force within this overall flavor that I'm getting. And it's not a bad flavor, you know. It's not. It's a nice finish with the pepper and spice. It's there's a little bit of bitterness, you know, in that finish as well, just a tad bit. Sometimes you get it up front a little, and that's probably the only thing that I could say that I've gotten a little bit here and there, especially at the beginning of the first half. But you know, you take that into account, and you see if it pops up again, right? And it hasn't popped up again so far. But speaking of Martinez Cigars as being this old-fashioned tobacco company, this old-fashioned cigar company that makes and specializes in what usually feels like to me like that old-fashioned handmade cigar from the 1970s and the 1980s, before the boom. And, you know, this is all long filler, of course. Martinez Cigars operates with long fillers. And now, having removed this band, right, and taking it to the bare, even more so feels like an old-fashioned cigar, because old-fashioned cigars really didn't have bands. They were usually unbanded. And the strength picked up just a tad bit, and there is a certain bitterness with the pepper in the finish. It's a little off-key for me, just a little. But and I feel that it's giving the cigar a little bit of oomph. But I gotta see how this develops. I really do. So, while I can tell you that not everybody loves Corojo tobacco, and that's why I say that it's not for everyone, it is for me. I love Corojo. This cigar has developed, and it has really nice transitions. There's a creamy texture to it. The spiciness of the Corojo has continued to shine. I talked about it earlier, how it really dominates the flavor profile, and it doesn't disappoint in any way. If you're a Corojo lover, you're going to really enjoy this. It has, to me, I still feel like this is that old-fashioned cigar, top of the line. It doesn't fail to deliver what Martinez Cigars represents, and I think above all, that's what you want. You want a cigar that represents quality, and Martinez Cigars is all about quality. So, while the wrapper is not as polished as your typical J. London Gold series, it's, you know, even though they're both Ecuadorian, this is Corojo, and this is, you know, primo stuff, man. Primo stuff. I really gotta say, it's primo stuff. Takes a while to develop, though. That first half was a little slow, and that slight bitterness that I was getting was like a sharp cedar bitter note. But I've had this cigar for about 4 months in the humidor at 65, 66. I haven't had any issues with the cigar's construction whatsoever. Draw has been good. Medium draw. Still medium bodied. That'll push towards a full bodied flavor, but it'll dial back. Yes. Yeah, it's just like this sweet, creamy spice with this deep, earthy undertone. And I like how that earthiness is accompanied by a little breadiness, sweet breadiness. Even with the pepper and the finish, the spice, it still maintains a very smooth feel. No bitterness detection whatsoever now. Really just enjoyable cigar. Yeah, yeah. I like how it explodes sometimes with the pepper and the finish. I like that. I think just all of the flavors and the way they mesh, the finish, the overall feel, the creaminess, the sweet hints. It's just, it's pure magic. Yeah, a delight. Ladies and gentlemen, you can tell what I think because I'm smoking it. I'm going to take it to the knob, and I really enjoyed this. And I recommend you seeking it out because I think it's worthy of it. Collaboration, J London, Martinez Cigar Company, New York City. New York City made cigar, American cigar. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time on Backyard Cigars.